Lionel Messi has experienced almost everything football can offer: World Cup glory, historic trophies, unforgettable victories, and moments that changed the history of the sport. But whenever Argentina becomes involved in a major football controversy, one name immediately dominates the conversation: Messi. Now, as discussions surrounding FIFA, Argentina, and international football continue to attract enormous attention, supporters are asking a much bigger question: what could Messi do next? Is this simply another chapter in football's endless cycle of controversy? Or could it become a turning point for Argentina's legendary captain? Before jumping to dramatic conclusions, we need to separate confirmed information from speculation and understand why Messi's role carries so much weight. Lionel Messi is no longer simply one of Argentina's greatest footballers. He has become one of the most recognizable figures in the history of the sport. For millions of supporters, Messi represents an entire generation of Argentine football. His journey with the national team was filled with enormous expectations. There were difficult moments, there were painful defeats, and there were years when critics questioned whether Messi could ever achieve international glory with Argentina. Then everything changed. The World Cup victory transformed the story. Messi finally lifted football's most prestigious international trophy, completing one of the most celebrated chapters of his career. That achievement also changed the way his relationship with Argentine football was viewed. His words now carry enormous influence. International football is rarely just about what happens for 90 minutes on the pitch. Behind every major competition are governing bodies, national associations, regulations, referees, disciplinary procedures, and decisions that can affect entire teams. That is why FIFA-related controversies can spread so quickly. A single announcement can trigger debates among supporters, journalists, former players, and football analysts across the world. Social media can make the reaction even larger. Within minutes, a developing story can become a global conversation. But there is an important distinction. A viral claim is not automatically an official decision. A headline is not necessarily proof. And speculation about Messi's response should never be confused with a confirmed statement from Messi himself. That distinction is essential when examining any developing football story. Argentina's enormous football profile means that almost every major development surrounding the national team attracts international attention. The country's supporters are among the most passionate in world football. The national team carries enormous expectations, and Messi remains the central figure of an extraordinary era. Whenever questions arise around Argentina, the reaction can quickly become emotional. Some supporters demand answers. Others defend their national team. Analysts examine every detail, and social media creates its own version of the story. But beneath all the noise is a simple reality. Official information matters. If a governing body makes a formal decision, the details should be examined carefully. If a player makes an official statement, his exact words matter. And if no official confirmation exists, the responsible approach is to acknowledge the uncertainty. But there is another side to this story, because when FIFA becomes involved in a major dispute surrounding one of football's most powerful national teams, the consequences can extend far beyond Argentina. And if Messi decides to speak, remain silent, or make a major career decision, the football world will be watching. We'll examine what is actually confirmed, how the football community is reacting, and why Messi's next move could become one of the biggest stories in international football. When a major football story begins trending, the first reaction is usually emotional. Fans immediately want answers, social media fills with theories, and headlines become more dramatic with every passing hour. But football's biggest stories require something more important than excitement. They require evidence. A FIFA announcement, an official disciplinary document, or a statement from the Argentine Football Association carries a very different weight from an anonymous social media post. The same applies to Messi. If Lionel Messi makes a public statement, his actual words matter. If no official statement exists, claims about his intentions remain speculation. That distinction may sound simple, but in the modern football news cycle, it can completely change how a story should be understood. Argentina's national team operates within a much larger football structure. The Argentine Football Association works with players, coaching staff, competition organizers, and international football authorities. Major decisions can therefore involve several layers of communication. A developing situation may begin with reports, then come responses from officials, then, if necessary, formal procedures. Only after those stages can supporters understand the full picture. For Argentina, the stakes are especially high because expectations surrounding the national team have never been greater. The country enters every major competition with enormous attention, and with Messi still associated with the greatest era in Argentine football history, every development involving the team receives an extraordinary level of scrutiny. So where does Messi fit into all of this? That is the question millions of supporters want answered. Messi has spent years carrying enormous expectations. He has experienced criticism, he has experienced pressure, and he has also experienced the extraordinary joy of finally winning the World Cup with Argentina. At this stage of his career, every decision carries additional significance. A public statement could influence the conversation. A quiet response could create even more speculation, and any future decision regarding his involvement with Argentina would naturally become a major international story. But one principle remains important. We should not confuse predictions about Messi's next move with a confirmed decision. Until Messi or an authorized representative officially communicates his intentions, the responsible approach is to examine the facts and wait for confirmation. Meanwhile, supporters around the world continue watching. Argentina fans see the situation through the emotions of their national team. Neutral supporters want clarity. Football analysts examine the possible sporting consequences, and journalists continue searching for verified information. This is how modern football works. A story involving Messi and Argentina can cross continents within minutes, but the most important developments are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes the biggest moment is the official statement that finally separates fact from speculation, and that is exactly what supporters should be watching for next. The football world can speculate for days, but eventually, speculation reaches a limit. An official decision, an official statement, or a decision from Messi himself, and that is when the story truly changes. We'll look at the possible paths ahead for Messi in Argentina, what his legacy means to the national team, and why his next decision could define the final chapter of an extraordinary international career. After all the speculation, one question remains. What happens next for Lionel Messi in Argentina? The answer depends on official decisions, future competition schedules, and most importantly, Messi himself. There are several possible paths. Messi could continue representing Argentina. He could decide to reduce his international commitments, or, at some point, he could announce that his international career has reached its conclusion. But none of those possibilities should be presented as confirmed until Messi or an authorized source makes an official announcement. That uncertainty is exactly why every development involving him attracts so much attention. Whatever happens next, Messi's legacy with Argentina is already extraordinary. For years, he carried the hopes of an entire football nation. He endured criticism when international trophies remained out of reach. He returned after disappointment. He continued competing. And eventually, he reached the summit. The World Cup triumph transformed his international story forever. The player who had once been questioned for his performances with Argentina was now celebrated as the captain who helped deliver the country's greatest prize. That legacy cannot be erased by one controversy or one football decision. Messi's next major decision will matter for more than one player. It could affect an entire generation of Argentine supporters. Young footballers who grew up watching him will remember how he represented the national team. Teammates who shared the biggest moments of his career understand his influence inside the dressing room, and supporters around the world recognize that the final stages of a legendary career are different from anything that came before. Every appearance feels more significant. Every tournament could become another farewell. Every statement can become global news. That is the unique position Messi occupies in modern football. There is also a bigger lesson in stories like this. Football moves incredibly fast. A rumor can become a headline in minutes. A headline can become a worldwide debate. And suddenly, millions of people believe they know what will happen next. But real football history is written by official decisions, actual performances, and choices made by the people involved. That is why supporters should always look beyond the loudest headline. Wait for confirmation, listen to the full statement, and allow the facts to tell the story. Lionel Messi's story with Argentina has already produced moments that will be remembered for generations. From disappointment to perseverance, from criticism to World Cup glory. And now, another chapter waits to be written. Whatever Messi ultimately decides, his impact on Argentina is permanent. He changed the expectations of an entire generation. He inspired millions of young players, and he gave Argentine supporters memories that will live forever. So perhaps the biggest question isn't whether Messi can surprise the world again. It's this: what will the final chapter of his Argentina story look like? Only time, and Messi himself, can answer that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this documentary, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more original football stories. Comment below, do you want to see Messi continue with Argentina, or do you think his international journey should end on his own terms?